Hello everyone, welcome to MMBS-111, Introductory Microbiology. This mini lecture will address concepts from section 4.4 of chapter 4, and we're focusing on the protozoa. There are 4 learning outcomes that you should be able to know and do by the end of this mini lecture. The first is know the main characteristics of protozoa. Second, list 3 ways protozoa can move in liquid. Third, describe what is the benefit of being able to form a cyst. And finally, explain why protozoa are difficult to classify. So there are about 65,000 species of single-celled organisms classified in the group protozoa. Most of these organisms are harmless. They are free-living inhabitants of water and soil. They are things like water bears and tardigrades and diatoms. But a few species of protozoa are parasites, and they are responsible for hundreds of millions of infections every year. The image on our slide here is an image of Giardia lamblia, a well-known and predominant parasite from the protozoa. Protozoa can move through fluids in several different ways. They can use pseudopods, flagella, cilia, or something called glided motility, and we will talk about protozoan movement in this presentation. Protozoa are single cells, but they are eukaryotic cells. So they contain all of the major organelles that other eukaryotic cells possess except for chloroplasts. There are not any photosynthetic protozoa. Their cytoplasm is divided into 2 parts, the ectoplasm and the endoplasm. The ectoplasm is a clear outer layer of the protozoa, and it is involved in movement or locomotion, feeding, and protecting the organism itself. The endoplasm is the inner layer, and it is the granular region that houses all of the organelles like the nucleus, the mitochondria, and other structures. Protozoa contain a cell membrane that regulates food, water, and secretions just like all other eukaryotic organelles. It is selectively permeable and has the same structural components and organization. The shape of protozoa is unique in that it can remain constant, like many of the ciliates. Their shape doesn't change, or it can change constantly, like the amoebas that are able to adjust their shape as part of their ability to move through different substances. All protozoa are heterotrophic. This means that they have to acquire their nutrition from food. So they have to eat to get their nutrition. They are free living, so they can scavenge dead plant or animal material. They can eat bacteria. Many of them eat algae, especially if they are aquatic species. Some species also have special features like oral grooves that are used to feed. It's kind of like a mouth, really, but it's an oral opening. And cilia, these tend to be the ciliates where they're able to push food towards that oral groove in order to consume it. Some protozoa are able to absorb their food directly through their cell membrane, and many of these parasitic forms are able to live on the fluids of their host. The main limiting factor for the growth of protozoa is the availability of moisture. Most protozoa are found in fresh and marine water. They can also be found in soil, in plants, in animals. They can survive in some extremes of temperature and pH. And many protozoa are able to resist changes, especially extreme changes in their environment, by forming what is called a cyst. And this is a dormant stage that resists changes to the environment. And once the environment becomes more suitable to the organism, then it can germinate and restore the vegetative state. So here we have an image of a life cycle of protozoa. The trophozoite is the active, vegetative, moving, feeding stage of the protozoa. And the cyst is that dormant stage that resists changes in the environment and protects the trophozoite until the environment is restored and the active stage can survive. So the cyst is very resistant to things like heat, to drying, harsh chemicals. It can be carried by the air or in water. And it is a really important factor in the spread of many diseases caused by protozoa. Some protozoan groups exist only as a trophozoite, so they do not form cysts. Some alternate between the two stages depending on their habitat. Trichomonas vaginalis, those are the cells that you're looking at in the background, is a common STD that does not form cysts. So transmission occurs by direct contact. However, Entamoeba histolytica and Giardia lamblia both form cysts, and the cyst is how the organism is transmitted to cause disease, and it's typically in contaminated food or contaminated water. So these are some major pathogenic protozoa. We have the amoeboids, or the sarcodinas, Entamoeba histolytica, we mentioned earlier, and Naegleria, Acanthamoeba. These are responsible for brain infections. Entamoeba histolytica causes amoebiasis. We typically have some cases of this in Idaho, especially at the local swimming pools during the summer. There are also the ciliated protozoa, flagellated protozoa, and the sporozoa, which we'll talk about these. This is an image from your book that you can refer to as well. So that is the end of mini lecture 4.4. Make sure you go through these questions and you review the learning objectives so you are clear about the characteristics of protozoa, how they reproduce, the cyst stage versus the trophozoite stage. And remember, you can review this again, and I hope this was helpful.